Welcome to the podcast. I haven't gone outside in over 15 years, no commute, no boss, and still somehow fully equipped with problems. Parent offline, friends out of stock. So this show is just daily life from long-term hikikomori mode. In the world of people with learning difference, people often say that someone might not get along with others in general, but they do get along with anime fans. For me, it's not that. I don't get along with people like that either, and I also don't seem to click with people who are the opposite type. I just don't fit into any group. I really think I'm hopeless care when it's come to that. I really do. No matter what club I joined, it's never worked out. And that's actually what's happened. Some goes for friendship. Okay, next topic. There are people called exception people. People who say, I'm a special case to justify their own actions, even though my life is full of things that could be called exceptions. I don't try to use that to justify anything. I doubt some people are who really something also today. For some reason, my stomach muscle is sore. I was thinking about what I did yesterday. I cut my toenails, and I think it's probably because I was holding my foot up in the air for a bit. That's all it was. Also, readily recording the English episode, putting them out. My head had been so full of that. And I'm recording this Japanese episode in between, figuring out the timing and all that. But things didn't go as planned. Yeah. And there's also the timing of moving right to the computer, and I'm trying to put out one a day right now. So it's really tricky and a lot of work. Also about the future, I don't think traveling around is really like me. But still, no matter which path I take in the future, I'll probably wanna run away from wherever I am, and when that happens, I'll have no choice but to look for the easier option, but still at least until I'm past 60. Well, even after 60, like I talked about before, pushing myself to some degree during the day is what keeps you mentally okay, what it means to be a normal person. So thinkers have said the same thing. So maybe I shouldn't try too hard to take it easy. Well, I'll probably be strict with myself until the day I die. So the rough morning came from what I talked about earlier. My parents having fallen asleep, hunched over, not admitting it, or rather, not accepting it, trying to justify it, and also not being able to record the English session in the morning. And in the afternoon, the podcast stuff, not like that either. I'm thinking about Spanish and other language, and also trying to study something with a specific goal in mind just doesn't work for me at all. But after that, even with no real purpose, just because it was something pointless, I was able to follow my curiosity and look into it. Before, I never would have thought about studying something that's pointless. But because it was so completely meaningless, I was able to look into it without feeling any pressure. And that's how it is now. Actually, totally pointless things are easier to look up. On the other hand, when I try to find meaning in something, I start wondering whether it's really worth my time. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like when I try to study classical music, but there are nothing to talk about good on the podcast outside of the mere section. And also I looked into various things about WordPress for their blog. And I can really talk about Nogizaka on there. And there were things I knew a lot about work-wise that I thought would be good to share. But I've kinda forgotten them now. Those were kind of things on my mind. Also today I was watching WBC, and also today I was thinking I wish I had done more of what I wanted to do when I was in school. Especially in high school when I had a time, like what if I had started a hip hop dance? This is just a daydream. What if I had started hip hop dance or ballroom dancing and kept it up? Maybe I could gotten a job at a dance school. That's the kind of daydream I was having. And I was also thinking, since I had a Brazilian relative, maybe Portuguese would make more sense. But honestly, I really wanna do Italian. Because I love opera, that's problem. The problem is my own personality. Life is short, so enjoy it. Life is only once, so do what you want. It seems like a lot of people are sick of hearing that kind of thing. People who don't get it. People who find it annoying. I feel the same way. Life is only once. If you think about it clearly, does it mean life is short? People say we are living in an age where you can live to 100. But in those 100 years, there's a limit to what you can do. So saying do what you want. Because of that, isn't that too simple? If I thought life happened twice, and then suddenly found out it only happened once, what would I even do? Even if 20 years became 10 years, I don't think it would really change anything. 1,000 years, if you had 10 lives, and let's say going along with the silly idea of it. If you had 10 lives and 1,000 years total, but then found out you could only live to 70, what would you do? It's a completely pointless topic, but if someone talked to me like that, I'd actually be pretty confused. Like wait, 1,000 years, shouldn't it be 100? Why did it suddenly change to 70? What condition changed? Well, it doesn't matter. I'll keep going. I have a pretty dark view of things. So life is only once. That's about how I'd react. Whether you live it once or twice or 3 times, I'm not saying I believe in coming back to life or anything. It would just be the same thing. Whether you do it twice or 3 times, what you do is basically the same. It doesn't really change much. You eat, you go to the bathroom, you leave some kind of mark on the world. That's about it. It's just the same thing repeats every day. Basically, and when it comes to what you actually do in life, I think it's all just small pieces of a bigger picture. Like when you choose your path. High school, college, work. Even if you knew you had 10 lives, knowing that wouldn't change much. You are not going to say, I'll be a doctor next time, so I'll be a lawyer this time. If you are gonna to be a doctor next time, you might as well just do it this time. And you don't know what next time would even look like. This is getting kind of boring to talk about. But life is only once, so what? That's about how I feel. How I feel. Life is only once, and from that, people often get to life is only once, so have fun. I understand how they get there, but life is only once. Doesn't that lead to some really dumb things to say, like you only get this one life? So don't worry about that. Other people think. Just do what you want. Isn't that a really dumb thing to say? The reason is the idea that you should do what you want is built on the reason that life is only once. And the connection is just too simple. The whole idea of life is only once. I don't really understand what it means. For example, even a cult that believes in coming back to life again and again, in the sense that this exact life won't happen again. This life is still only once. The coming back to life thing in cult, the version of you wouldn't exist. So they are probably not thinking that deep when they say life is only once. Right now, I don't have much to do. So I was looking up common experience of people who grew up in religion. The world feels different. This might seem surprising, or it might seem obvious, but I've felt this a lot. From a young age, my view of the world was already a bit different, so I did feel like there was a gap. But when I came across the idea of being the second generation in a religion, I thought maybe that's why. But a different worldview that comes from being in that religion was probably part of it too. Also, hiding the religion from friends. Even as a kid, I knew people would think it was weird. Even some teachers seemed to think it was strange. And in high school, the baseball coach today didn't understand, which makes sense. We had religion things up on the walls and posters and never looked at as like something was off, and that was uncomfortable. Are there any other example? My close friend knew I was in the religion. Next common experience, putting the religion before things like club and activity. That's definitely common one. And the confusion that comes from the gap between the normal rules and value of the world and what the religion teaches. I think that's a common experience too. I guess the sense of right and wrong is different too. There was no rules saying you couldn't join club, but friends who are also in the religion. I didn't really feel like I had it worse than them. I personally didn't have much of a desire to hang out with friends anyway. So the religion didn't cause problems in that way. But there were times when I was at a friend's house and got called home because my parents came to take me to a religion event. But missing baseball practice for it was really hard and that was tough. A friend of mine was in the soccer club and he had a really strict coach. So he seemed to enjoy coming to the summer seminars. He probably just wanted a break. There were summer kids seminars that also common experience in religion. It wasn't like there was a ceremony every day, but on weekend, once a month, there was a religion gathering, and while the rules weren't super strict on the surface, we were made to stay overnight in this kind of quickly thrown together place. Couldn't sleep at all. It was really rough. Also, my parents treat people who weren't in the religion like outside, like they were on a lower level. That's the kind of thinking which is why they try to bring people in. That's a classic religion thing. People who aren't in the religion aren't saved. They're on a lower level. We are at a higher level because we found this religion. That's what gets taught to you like it's totally normal. From your grandparent, from your parent, and that's the discrimination, looking down on others, working so hard doing volunteer work for the religion, and that's why we'll be saved. That's just basic human thinking. That's how you convince yourself that you and your group are better. And that it's worth going through all the trouble. Well, that's just how it is. I can't help it. But it's better not to get involved with people like that. I don't think there were cases of missing important event because of it. My parent was just busy with religion things, and I just got dragged along. I was taken to Sapporo every month. That's what inconvenient. But my own sense of worth came from being a part of that religion. According to my parent, if I wasn't gonna be in the religion, then there was no value in my existence. That's how it was put straight out. And that's the kind of person there. I think there's no way I could face my relatives Also, there was sometimes in the religion was who was gonna meet school, and they said they'd spent the past year giving everything to the religion. Honestly, thinking about that kind of doctor they turn out to be, what kind of person in the world they become, it's really scary because they're lived inside such a different worldview and they've lived a pretty strange life. I think a lot of people would say their up upbringing was pretty unusual. Families that didn't work right, being taught strange things, having strange value pushed on them, not being able to do normal things. I think that's a very common experience. So people who grew up in a religion, so clubs, no studying, just being taught wild ideas from a religion, no sense of what's normal, no understanding how, of how the world works. I think there are lot of people like that among those who grew up in the religion. There wasn't anything obvious like violence from my parents, but boring, boring, bullying, and that's the worse than hitting. And that kind of thing definitely exists in Japan too. And that's what it was like. The things you can't see clearly are scarier than the things you can. Being taught everything by your parent and being told no so many times, if you raised even the smallest question about the religion, just asking a question out of curiosity, you'd get also down. Your whole character would get questioned. Why do you even think like that? They said, you're being too logical. This and that. Also complaining about your religion online were not exactly complaining. For me, it's this podcast. I talk about various things here. Also looking at websites written about your own religion. I think that's a common one too. Looking it up on YouTube. In my case, my religion is so small that there aren't really that many sites about it. But on Q&A sites, there were definitely people saying it's just a cult. And there were plenty of sites like that, like I said before, where it's kinda nice in a way. Both the bad things and the good things are basically nowhere to be found online. So a small religion like mine can kind of hide. Also a lot of event. I think that's a common religion thing too. Getting together and moving your body. And in my religion, every doing a dance together. That was the thing. One point is something like building a strong bonds together. That's also common. Other religions have the same thing. I just learned that. And among people who grew up in a religion in their conflict between first generation and second generation members struggling with what the religion teaches you. Well, religion naturally have things that don't make sense. I think that's pretty common. Also, if you do this religion, everything will go well. But a lot of the families around it are actually going through really hard time. That's exactly what our family is like. That's very common too. same with people around us. Also, the people who are really active in it, those who are doing it at a high level. It was pretty bad, honestly. They talked badly about others, and the excuse for that was, well, we are human, we have desire, can't help it. There wasn't a single person there who was truly good, just ordinary people. Also, the things religion teach keep changing. That seems to be pretty common. On the flip side, what they have been saying for 10 years doesn't change at all. The big picture stays as the same. That's common too. Yeah, I think the common one. Also, when I felt the religion, I didn't really hear much from my grandparent or parent, but when I was a teenager, a senior member asked me, please come, and my grandparent said that to me too. Now, nighttime recording yesterday, dinner was Chinese cabbage and grains cooked with mirin and sake and pork. I usually eat a lot of chicken. But the pork, I think it was pork belly. It tastes really good. But maybe because my sense of taste is weak. After the first bite, the taste doesn't really stay with me. Unfortunately, yesterday too, I barely remember what the pork tastes like. Today was chicken. It was really good chicken. They used chicken thick, and there was a boiled egg and cabbage. But cabbage was really good too, but with the chicken, I couldn't tell if it was a pepper, the chicken itself, or some other flavor. That be a source of confusion for a while now, and had always get confused during meals. Looking back on why, that's the reason. Unlike before, I'm learned more about food, but that part still hasn't changed. I tried different things to really taste it all the way to the end, but nothing have changed. Also, earlier I was looking into system which is fighting style. I use the Russian breathing method, and apparently there's a technique to reduce pain. I was looking into that. Also, for some reason, after changing my clothes, there was a smell again right away. I think it's because of all the soy I'm eating a lot of it. But I have to eat enough or the stomach pain comes back, so I can stop. I've been thinking about it, but there's nothing else I can replace it with. Also, I was looking into why beef is the one meat you don't need to fully cook. I found something interesting. UK is actually a Korean dish. That's surprising. Well, when you think about it, it makes sense. But yeah, okay, next topic. I think this is pretty common. The times when you are not really trying to think are the time when you end up thinking the most. Especially for me, probably more than most people, it's that a common experience. I'm not sure. The times when you are not thinking are the time when you are thinking the most. What I mean is when you are not planning anything or working through something complicated, when you are just spacing out. Your head is actually spinning with all kinds of things. especially for bed and back in school days when I was spacing out. Yeah, it was like being in a dream, always daydreaming. So when there's nothing to do, I'm always kind of daydreaming. That's why the time when I'm not trying to think. So are the time when I'm thinking most without realizing it. I'm not trying to think, of course. I feel like I've talked about this before, but I wanna say it again. If you can't do it today, you can't do it tomorrow. I hear people say that sometimes, and honestly, it's really frustrating. Just just do it when the right time comes. And today might not be the best day to start. People's moods change, your body change, and if you couldn't do it today, people change and grow. So tomorrow you might be able to. That's a perfectly fine way to think. Just because you couldn't do it today. Also, everything is always changing. This is more of thinking kind of topic. People can notice when things change. I forget exactly what it was, but while something is in the middle of changing, you can't really see the change happening. I forget the exact thing, but everything is always changing. And the fact that you can notice change, you can understand why that's strange. The human brain can't really see something that's in the middle of changing. That suddenly something seems different. But actually, what people often say is there were signs before, and that change had already started. Well, even that I found a little hard to fully understand. But anyway, everything is always changing. When something suddenly seems to change, especially with people's feelings. Like when someone seems to suddenly act differently toward you, it just looks sudden. But there are probably a sign with everything. Even when something suddenly seems to go wrong, it was probably changing long before that. But unfortunately, people are just not built to notice those change. Also, not choosing is also a choice. I think people say that to make you feel better, but I think it's completely pointless. Pointless because you are still making a choice either way, and also the choice of not choosing. Who even struggles with that? No one worries about that. It's just playing. It's just playing with rocks because you can't stop time. Or do they think you can stop time? For example, if their opinion A and B, maybe the idea is she is also an opinion. But then that's still a choice. And if there are only A and B, you have to pick one of them. And if the path ahead is split in two, you have to go one way or the other, because you can't stop time. So well, the idea of don't decide right now, I think that's still a choice. In the end, you are still choosing, I think, but take it easy for now, and don't rush a decision. I don't think that's really the same thing. What do you think? Recording right at 9 now. During the day, I had this itchy on my body, but I couldn't scratch it myself, and it was really uncomfortable. But earlier, when I was lying down I scratched it, and I'm scratching again now, and I just can't help it. Also, I had some really bad luck and things went wrong. There's a blender at home, and I was thinking maybe I could use it to make roasted soybeans into soy flour. It turned out to be exactly the right kind of blender for making soy flour. I was really lucky. But then I remember I'd need to toast the soybeans into even for an hour first, so I had already given up on doing it during the day. I had forgotten about that. And of course, right at the moment, it turned out to be a good blend. I thought maybe I could just toast a big batch of soybeans in the oven, but there's a limit to how much fat, so that didn't work out. Also, there was something I wanted to look up on my phone, and I forgot what it was. And I try to remember a few times. I spent about 15 minutes just trying to think of it. Also, after lying down, I kept looking up completely pointless things and somehow get into a weird momentum and ended up looking things up for hours, and at time like that, I lose control of myself. It even scared me, honestly. I was looking up things I had no intention of looking up. That's quite a problem. It really is. Sometimes I forget rules I've set for myself, and I later realized I had meant to look about that up, but I've been looking up pointless things for hours.